oh my God, the car horns are blaring outside. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm going to crack the window for a second,
Okay.
but like, it's incredible. Like the windows are shaking a little bit because I'm just off the block here from City Hall, and the world is coming to Philly to dance in the street. There are going to be hoagies and cheesesteak stands and all the beers tonight, my friend.
Working in events since 2005, I've always been inspired by people coming together to share ideas. I'm Amanda Younger, and I'll be your host on Happy Hour, where I share a drink and a laugh with guests over stories and our hope for the future of the live event experience. Today, I'm speaking with Jonathan Lovitz, a nationally recognized small business and public policy advocate, community organizer, and currently serves as the Senior Vice President of the NGLCC. That's the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. In 2020, Lovitz created the phillyvoting.org initiative to expand voter registration and confidence in his city of Philadelphia. Lovitz is a regular speaker on MSNBC, CNBC, NPR, and Bloomberg, among others, and has served as a keynote speaker for the U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Department of Treasury, the United Nations, the Trevor Project, Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, and more. Today, he's speaking with us. What up? Special thanks to Loxamana Media. You create, we capture. Be sure to continue the conversation with us online at eventspeak.com. Subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify and iHeartRadio. And favorite us on Stitcher to get all upcoming episodes and help others find our show. Be sure to comment below. We'd love as much feedback as possible in our early stages. A promotional giveaway is in the works, so check back in soon. Together, we can make the difference in live events. I'm going to try and open this. Ugh. Let's see what we get.
You got this.
I got it.
Nailed it.
Popping the bottles. Popping the bottles with my friend Jonathan.
Woo!
Man, oh man. Today is a day. Yes, enjoy coffee or what have you. I don't know what's in that mug.
Friends. Coffee with important additives.
I love it. Well, cheers to Philly. Cheers to New York. Cheers to America.
Cheers to democracy and
democracy,
to
campaigning.
To just it all working out. Trust the process, like we say in Philly.
I like that. Be patient, all of that.
Yeah. I think we're going to be extra proud here in Philly. We gave America democracy. We weren't going to let it get taken away.
That's right. Well, Jonathan, normally I tell people who you are and what you do, but I just wanted to let everybody know this is my fellow Gator. We're both alumni from UF. That's right. And I made sure that I had a little Gator right there swimming with you.
And
I know that we have a cocktail party we got to do today. So
yeah,
we just started it off.
Cheers and l'chaim, everybody.
Cheers to that. And of course, just to let everybody know, I'm super proud of my friend Jonathan because previously I actually awarded him the Global Luminaries Award for his work with our Chamber of Commerce. There it is. And the same day, it was with Richie Torres, who is now a congressman, one of our freshmen in the House of Representatives.
Our first ever Black, queer, Afro-American member of Congress from the Bronx. It only took till 2020, but damn, is it good.
It is great. I'm feeling so good about everything that's happening. I do want you to tell everyone what kind of sparked your initiative to want to create phillyvoting.org.
Well, first of all, my friend, it's great to see you. And thanks for all the work you have always done in New York, bringing our communities together, championing what's right. Yes, take that sip. You've earned it. This is a real tribute to sort of the moment we're in with COVID and having to innovate around it. And I know that often sounds like such a little buzzy thing, but it actually happened here. I have been political for a long time as both sort of a professional homosexual and through my day job and my nightlife and my doing community organizing and advocacy and political work. And I was sitting with some friends here in Philadelphia, where I live now after 10 great years in New York City. And it's all right, you're an Amtrak away.
That's right.
With the Joe Biden presidency, we're going to get Amtraks everywhere.
That's right.
We're going to finally be a train country. But we were sitting around talking about how this is not a normal year, and particularly minority communities, primarily LGBTQ and Black communities, get their information, they get their organizing, they get their fire in their belly from going to things like churches and community meetings and bars and restaurants and all those things where we convene. And that ain't happening in a COVID world. So we were thinking about, how do we do that? Is it small groups? Do we knock? Do people even want us to knock on doors? Like, what do we do? And then we thought, what's the easiest thing? What is the thing that we can do to remove the most barriers? And it was right in front of us. Literally, we were sitting around having drinks. And what did you use to look at the menu? Because we're not doing paper menus anymore, QR codes. Yeah. So hold on, I'm going to get
the return of the QR code.
This felt on a wall to show you how happy I am that this was a grassroots advocacy moment that took an hour to buy a website, 10 minutes to buy, 5 minutes to buy a website, $10 to do it, an hour to build a link tree full of URLs. And then we just started putting this up everywhere. I mean, every wall, every restaurant, every bar, every church, and just saying to people, look, it's contact free. It's nonpartisan. It takes you to all of the state registrations. We obviously had a huge new learning curve here in Pennsylvania with our mail-in system being the first of its size this way. And it worked. And this was just a couple of friends sitting around thinking about, what can we do? And especially when we started thinking about the numbers, right? Because in 2016, Hillary lost to Donald by like 44,000 votes. There were, in 2016, 150,000 unregistered LGBTQ people, 300,000 unregistered Black people in this state. And the surveys all said, because no one came to us with why. We knew what was at stake, but folks didn't talk to us about why it matters on a personal level. And as someone who loves this world of public policy and getting people fired up about being involved, this was the perfect time. And it worked. People showed up in droves to mail-in vote in Philadelphia and around Pennsylvania. And just looking at the numbers here, for a grassroots thing created by a couple of friends sitting around having cocktails, we netted out somewhere around 4,000 clicks to our website and hundreds. We're looking at almost 800 clicks to the various voter registration sites. So it's great. And it was a matter of giving people no excuses. And that's the thing, and even better, an easy solution that we can all get behind. And people then started putting the QR code as the background on their phone and chasing people down the street. Have you registered to vote? Take a picture of this.
You see the clipboard, you're like, no.
Yeah. So it was just awesome. And I'm so fired up and so excited as someone who wants, who wants to be part of the political future of Pennsylvania. Like, people are fired up to participate. I don't think you get record-breaking turnout numbers like this and then they vanish. I think people, when you remind them what's at stake and the power of being involved, they stick around because they realize it's their power.
Yeah, I think the majority of the time people are like, oh, well, it's the same thing. My vote, like, is it really going to matter? And then all of a sudden, you have an upset where someone wins with 3 million popular votes and they're still not there. And then you actually start to see policies kind of directly impact you in a direct way, in a personal way. And that kind of fires you up and go, what can I do? So I'm super happy that you had like this meeting, and it seems that so many other people agree with you that there was something that we need to do, and voting's one of it. Voting was the easiest way. Now, I know in the past, because gosh, you've been involved in politics in New York and now in Philadelphia. I know you've been part of tons of campaigns and fundraisers. Of course, this must be unprecedented. Usually we have these galas, we have state fairs, babies are kissed, hands are shaking. Right. We can't do that this year.
Yeah, none of that. But you know what? What a great time to remind people that's not how it has to be done.
Right.
We don't need to spend zillions of dollars parading people around town to kiss babies. We can make it about issues. We can make it about right and not. We can make it about connecting intimately with people and not. It was a great time for, it was a great era for the Facebook ad. And I don't mean from the campaigns, I mean from the little guys and gals, like to the amount of nonprofits who allocated, time and money and energy into building social media campaigns that said, vote because, not for this guy or that guy, vote because Black Lives Matter and your body is your choice and my marriage is none of your business and all of those things. And it got people fired up. It made it personal. I mean, I'm a lobbyist by trade now. It's what I do. And the amount of times I go to state houses and city council meetings to advocate for businesses and minority rights and things like that. And no one's there because we've let a generation of straight white men over 65 make all of our decisions in a majority minority nation. And that ain't it. And we're going to change that. I mean, just look at the diverse representation that's being elected. Look who's showing up to lead the organizations. It is awesome.
Yeah, I think just for LGBTQ campaigns, I think I haven't heard a single one that failed. We've got Sarah McBride. We've got Stephanie Byers, the first trans native in Kansas. I've been seeing more and more, especially on the state level, on that local level, where a lot of folks are becoming the first of their kind, of their identity in these positions of leadership.
It's incredible. And I even, I think of the class I attended for my Victory Fund training to be a future candidate, like half those people have gone on to win successful races already. And it's amazing that we're thinking at all levels of government, because the most intimate relationships with government are usually our school boards, our city's council, our state legislatures, and we are not represented in that, not nearly enough. And that's changing, and that's incredible. And people are eyeing service as a thing to do again, and that's really incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, public service, I think, was always something that seemed corrupt and weird, and I'm not going to be that guy. But I feel that a lot of people are like, no, this is actually a place for change and a place where real things happen, and I want to be a part of that change. So I like this change in this adjustment in perception, I should say, an adjustment in perception on what local government means, on what state government means, and how that affects everyone individually, especially when you seem affected by so many policies that are coming out. And I think with the Supreme Court, with those justices putting in place, I think a lot of people started to bite their nails and really worry about rights that could be taken away. And that's a real fear. That's a true fear.
It is. And remember, though, what's most important is courts have to decide when bad laws are made. So if you want to prevent a flood of attacks on our basic rights, everything from, the rights and dignity of people to be who they are, love who they are, express who they want to be, take an agency of their bodies, vote. All of those things are made and strengthened by state and federal legislators. The courts only come in when someone says, I don't think this works, or I want to try to erode something that doesn't benefit me. Well, if you've got strong representation that actually speaks for more people having more access, then we don't have to worry about these things. So that's why flipping legislatures blue when we were about to redistrict the entire country.
The census.
The census, which, was what it was in a COVID year. These things are all affected by turnout, and turnout is huge. So we've just got to keep this momentum going and keep people fired up. And remember that there is an election every year, even if it's just for local things like, referendums to fix your potholes. Well, you know, we're online and we're on a podcast, so we're allowed to say things like, don't bitch if you don't participate.
That's right.
Next time you're
national broadcast, it's okay.
Next time you're going over one of our famous Philly potholes and screwing up your alignment, instead of saying, damn it, why don't they fix this? Say, did I show up to the council meeting to demand that they fix this?
Right.
Oh, wait, I didn't. I let somebody else speak for me. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah. No, and it's very important to check in on those council meetings, those community board meetings, because that's where a lot of that, citizen participation really takes place. And you see it on the movies. You see it on, like the town comes together and someone goes up on the podium and says something and you're like, that guy needs to run for something. And he's like, no, I just want to change this part of my town because I love it. And you're like, oh, dear, I love movies. But you forget, like, those moments can actually happen. You can walk into these council meetings. You can talk to the podium and you can get heard.
I've watched it happen. I mean, I talk about this all the time. The privilege of being, the cis white guy at the table is they offer me the mic first so that I can do things like set the scene and say, but you really need to hear from who this is going to help. And I can give the mic to the person who was not invited to the table. And I think about the work I do in expanding like economic laws to include more minorities. You don't need to hear from me. People that look like me are doing fine. You need to hear from the first generation immigrant trans Black woman who is being told even from her own communities, you're to this, you're not enough that. So to be able to bring all of yourself to everything you do, including the government that you pay for, says a lot. And if you've got something to say, public comment means you get involved. I have seen legislators change their mind because one person showed up and said, I have never heard that perspective.
Amazing. Well, and you've done so much advocacy for small business and just the small business industry, especially with COVID-19 during this pandemic that's still continuing. They've been hit really hard. What do you think is kind of the takeaway from this pandemic? Where do you see that small business advocacy, or where do you see yourself where you're kind of focusing your attention to in that front?
What's amazing now, and we've seen it through COVID, we certainly saw it through both the LGBT civil rights movement of the last couple of years and certainly through Black Lives Matter, the convergence and coming together of communities in such an unprecedented way. Some because of intersectionality, realizing that we are not doing enough for the least among us in our own communities, but also just acknowledging allyship that we, especially in this now outgoing administration, God, that feels good to say. If they're coming for you on a Monday, they're coming for me on a Tuesday. Yep. But it's a lot harder to pick us off if we've linked arms. Think about the Equality Act, for example, which is going to help fix this patchwork of LGBT laws around the country where, your zip code determines whether or not you're protected and can be thrown out of your home and your workplace and all of these things. Yeah. Well, again, that's dictated by where you live. And that's not okay. That doesn't create a productive and inclusive economy for anyone. Right. And to see that 10 years ago when that was introduced, we had a small handful of corporations and nonprofits standing with us, to this year, 400 corporations, and the first major nonprofit to stand shoulder to shoulder with the LGBT community was the NAACP, saying, we've seen this garbage before, and we know how to fight it, and we have skin in this game. Right. So it's just incredible to see that across so many communities. I love it. And I think that's the future of the movement, is recognizing that, too many times when you talk about small business things, even like the PPP and the recovery loans, everyone's saying, oh my gosh, there's only so much pie. If you give pie to this person, there's no pie for me. We pay for the pie as taxpayers. So let's demand more is baked, and that it's divided more evenly, and that more people have access to a piece of it. And that each of us know how to hold our plate better so that we get the pie we deserve. I'm hungry. I could stretch this out.
I dropped it. I dropped my pie. Can't get
my pie. But it's such an exciting time to be in this work, because people are realizing we do better when more people do better, all of us. So I just love it. Oh my God, the car horns are blaring outside. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm going to crack the window for a second,
Okay.
but like, it's incredible. Like the windows are shaking a little bit because I'm just off the block here from City Hall, and the world is coming to Philly to dance in the street. There are going to be hoagies and cheesesteak stands and all the beers tonight, my friend.
This is fantastic. Well, I want to make sure that everybody wants to thank phillyvoting.org for all of the work that you've done. And I know that there's so much more that can be done and will be done. Just on the way out, how do you think this is really going to change fundraisers and campaigning moving forward? I think every year it's been like, wow, this grassroots campaign through social media, but now that seems to be the norm. Where do you think that's going to be for the future, especially, kind of working with Victory Fund and others, which, by the way, thank you for that Marvel Avengers Assemble Victory Fund fundraiser. That was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Wait, did you also attend the Star Trek one? Like, because there's been one for every nerd constituency, like Broadway for Biden and Star Trek for Biden, and they had, like, I'm sure they had Tree Sloth for Biden.
Right.
But it was this is what I love, and this is the answer to your question is, look what Zoom and all these other platforms have done to democratize how we connect with each other. Mm-hmm. And I say this as someone who flies under normal years all over the country to speak to groups and try to fire them up. But that means you have to pay for flights and hotels, and we've got to book rooms, and we've got to, buy meals and all this stuff. We're doing this, my friend. We're, and think of like, I about dropped dead when I was on a Zoom and Cher popped in, and, and shrieks were heard across Zooms around the world. And
like, did you lose your cool?
Yeah, we can do things like that now. And I think this is the future of fundraising is, again, it makes it personal, that even for candidates here that, I'm not running this cycle, but I believe in so many LGBT candidates running all over the state of Pennsylvania and around the country. The amount of Zooms I did like this, just talking about why they matter, why our vote matters, and why it's so deeply personal was great. And we did it like this. It was, cocktails and conversation about the future of our country. And I think that's the future of fundraising, is keeping it like this. I think we'll get back to small in-person events again, but I think those big one night only this is the one chance to fundraise and save our country kind of things are gone because they didn't net the results that we needed. Sure, they were good fundraisers, but did they really motivate people to action? And I think look at the kinds of money that used to be spent on that black tie dinner, and the, who sponsored what open bar because it got them great visibility. Well, and I say that as someone like you who has run pride organizations, and my God, that money makes a difference. But think how much more effective it is when you say, for that same $40,000 you were going to give us to have an open bar at the reception, why don't you invest that in an equity fund that brings, that is set to provide 10 scholarships to Black queer kids to attend an HBCU?
Yeah.
That is equity building in the future. That is a return on your investment that goes a lot deeper than the free vodka we were going to get from Tito's anyway. So let's have a volunteer shake it up instead of having to pay for all of that setup. You know what I mean? Like, just as we're talking about, reimagining the funding of police, for example, it's reimagining the funding of our nonprofit movements. We're not saying get rid of these things. We're saying make it work in a way that makes more dollars work for more people by getting the right folks in place to use that money to make a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am going to let you go because I know you have a day of media, and I want to thank you so much for just taking out a piece of your time to be with me, to be with my listeners. I want to thank you again for all of your efforts. Thank you for bringing back that QR code.
Hey.
Thank you, voters who clicked on.
And right back at you. I mean, exactly what we're doing, and your podcast and all of your hard work in New York, and really setting a precedent and a model for so many LGBTQ and other organizations to follow, just about the way we engage everyone, from the most to the least, from the oldest to the youngest. you do it right, my friend, and I'm proud to know you, and I'm so excited to keep carrying this forward through a Biden presidency, a Harris presidency, and who knows what happens after that. So cheers to all of us.
Cheers to us, and cheers to my favorite luminary. Well, I can't say that. Not my favorite, but oh man, you really deserved it. You are a luminary, and keep lighting the flame for others to see through the fog, through the dark. You're the light to guide our way. Thank you so much for your time, Jonathan.
Thank you, my friend. Here's to all of us. Keep fighting. Let's make a difference. Thank you.